This week, CPO Blink won a contract for EV charging in an entire city. BP Pulse is dropping prices to 1 cent for 1 day at the LAX Gigahub. And Rivian Plug and Charging was activated for IONNA stations. Let's get into it. I'm here at what is soon to be, and soon in a relative term, moving at IONNA speed, a Rechargery in my hometown of Concord, North Carolina. People familiar with the Charlotte metropolitan area, this is Branchview Road in Concord. It is likely going to look very similar to the Rechargery that opened in Fruita, Colorado, where there are canopies on either side. And in Fruita, there were 5 Alpitronic hyperchargers serving 10 stalls, and here there's looks to be stubbed up for 8, so 16 stalls, so a bigger station. And we know from wording there are also canopies like Fruita coming, basically on either side. There's 2 canopies. There's also 2 points of ingress and egress. There's one over here and then there's one over there, so they're definitely doing the job right. It's nice to see this. This is very likely going to be a reoccurring backdrop for me, just because 16 stall canopy station in my hometown is awfully convenient. Plus, I'm very enthusiastic and excited to see the progress of this station, so I'm going to be visiting it with regularity. And IONNA's in the news, so it definitely was aligned there. For those who use PlugShare, there have been several new CPOs added to filter lists recently. PlugShare seems to do this to reflect the current most active CPOs. I really don't know how they select what CPOs to add to their filter list, but it seems to correspond to those that are recently most active. The new ones recently added are, let me just quickly go over this, Rivian, Waypoint, and Adventure Network. Rivian was not in there before, but they are now. Charge Smart EV, that's a new one showing up in New York quite a bit. Electric Era, that one wasn't there, it is there now. Ford Charge, Hyperfuel, which is an interesting CPO in the Texas area. Synerge EV, which seems to be making a play for stranded assets at dealerships. I'm not really sure about that CPO, that's a new one to me. And Walmart. These updates have been more frequent as of late and pretty interesting to me because it's showing an increased activity in the overall DC fast charger market. As mentioned at the beginning, CPO Blink won a contract to provide EV charging stations, both DC fast charger and level 2, throughout the city of Richmond, Virginia. Here's a quote from Don Olsky, the Energy Program Manager for the city of Richmond. As part of the city of Richmond's commitment to the net zero strategies outlined in the RVA Green Climate Equity Action Plan 2030, we are excited to have the solutions offered by Blink available to us as we create a thriving and sustainably built environment. And I'll pass the link over to the folks over at Spec to see if they can link it down below in the description. So a very impressive contract awarded to Blink because according to additional information in the press release, they're trying to stimulate EV charging for fleets, for residents, and people who are passing through. So multiple different use cases in the stations that they're going to be putting in, like level 2 at parks, DC fast charger in commercial areas for trucks, and then stations for people passing through Richmond, which is pretty busy on the Interstate 95 corridor. So congratulations to Blink. That's a very impressive contract that they won. Also mentioned in the beginning, we got 1 penny per kilowatt hour pricing being offered to us by BP Pulse. And I'm thinking of driving across the country in order to take advantage of it because it's only at one location and it's only going to be for 1 day. It's at the LAX Gigahub. What they're doing is they're celebrating the opening of their lounge. As people might recall, when they did their quasi-soft opening to a lot of fanfare previously, the lounge was not actually finished. I think there was either some permitting or some water lines that needed to be run or something, but that lounge is now fully operational, very similar to the one in Duarte, California. And as a way of celebrating the opening of their lounge, they wanted to do a bit of a splash, and 1 penny This is going to be Thursday, October 23rd. Now, my wife was in Los Angeles last week, and she told me the traffic is horrendous. So you'll probably have to drive 3 hours in one direction and stop and go traffic to get to this charging station. But assuming you're able to, it'll be available to refuel your vehicle. So show up empty. And they got plenty of stalls, plenty of both J3400 and CCS1 connectors, Alpitronic hyperchargers, and tritium. Currently, the pricing is from 40 cents to 60 cents per kilowatt hour, depending on the time of day. So 1 cent per kilowatt hour, courtesy of BP Pulse. Much exciting. As I mentioned in the beginning, Rivian had granted to them the ability to plug and charge at IONNA stations, which are becoming increasingly common. I did an update last night on my private channel, and after I tallied up all the stations that were known to be under construction, right now the number is 31 under construction stations like this. And that's only the ones we know about. IONNA is very famous for moving at such a breakneck speed that we can't spot them. And so the pattern that seems to have been developing with the community spotting that's going on is we basically know of about 1/3 of what's actually occurring out there in the real world in IONNA speed world. And if that's the case, you do 31 times 3, and there's like 100 stations out there that are currently under construction. They also mentioned multiple stations that are under contract, which are just waiting for permitting and things in order for construction to proceed. So they are not playing. There are a ton of IONNA stations going in, and Rivians will be able to take advantage. The price is also pretty good now. We're watching them to see what their intentions are for pricing, and I think they don't have any answer yet. They're a new CPO, so they're trying to work out what is right for them, whether it be time of use or whatnot. But one thing that they are dialed in on is plug and charge. I think they're deliberately trying to avoid having to develop an app because everyone's got app fatigue, and just plug and charge, and you don't have to worry about it. The nice thing about plug and charge also is it circumvents the credit card hold. They were also criticized when they first opened having a $70 credit card hold for every time you tap your credit card, and then it decreased to $50, and it has been at $50 per credit card tap for quite a while. But just this past week, IONNA announced that they are decreasing their credit card hold to $30 per tap. Now, okay, cool, but you can get around all that by doing plug and charge. And Rivians will now have the ability to do plug and charge at IONNA stations. Electric Era unveiled a new product at the NACS conference. It's kind of funny, it says NACS, but it's not like North American Charging Standard. That's the National Association of Convenience Stores, a vertical in which Electric Era operates in, along with Red E. The new product is called Retail Edge, and it has natural language processing artificial intelligence interface called Halo AI. So you can just walk up and you can talk to the thing and start a session that way if you wish. The new chargers have a slimmer form factor and a single cable. Previously, Electric Era chargers had 2 cables. Quincy Edmond, the CEO of Electric Era, said this on social media: "With Retail Edge, we are taking our product design and vertical integration approach even further. We engineered an array of new technologies, including electrical subsystems, mechanical systems, the industrial design, and our own AI agent software." Very impressive. First to market with a natural language processing AI interface. So all that scratching of the screens from people tapping their cards and touching the screen with rings that have diamonds in them and things like that, if you're just walking up and interacting with a station verbally, all that goes away. And it's also a engaging way for a CPO to interact with the customers, and apparently that is also a way that the convenience store operators can build in a new channel to potential customers with multiple different back-end things that are not immediately clear, but it was alluded to in the press releases. So congratulations, Electric Era. That is a very impressive upgrade to the product that they offer, called the Electric Era Charging Station. Now there's a new one called Retail Edge. Walmart has been seen looking to prep entries into the alternative fuels data center, and this past week, it became official. I was so excited. So we're expecting Walmart to have just a torrent of station openings coming. And once the brunt of the pace is picking up, being able to track it is going to be very difficult for community people. And my good friend Landon at the Arkansas eTraveler does an absolutely spectacular and noble effort tracking this monster. Luckily, we also have the Alternative Fuels Data Center database now, because there is a new EV network entitled Walmart that just showed up this past week with 7 stations in there. So I guess we could expect to see updates with some regularity. Now, some CPOs like Circle K only update the Alternative Fuels Data Center database once every 3 months or something like that. It's kind of like an afterthought for them. Other CPOs are in like near real time using an API engine. So every time a station opens, it automatically gets populated into the database the next day. So it's yet to be seen exactly what approach Walmart is going to take in order to doing database updates. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but at least we have them in the Alternative Fuels Data Center database to augment what is available through the Arkansas eTraveler's YouTube site and other YouTube outlets that are tracking the very exciting Walmart EV charging station build. Last week, I mentioned I was expecting to have a representative from the new hardware vendor viveEV on this week's episode. That interview took place as expected. Let's hear from Andrew Linton. So I'm here with Andrew Linton, and sir, I apologize, your title?
Business Development Manager for viveEV.
Oh, very well. And out of curiosity, how did you get linked up with Vive? Because I understand they're newly introduced to the United States. That had to have been kind of a serendipitous engagement where all of a sudden, right place, right time sort of thing?
It was a little bit of that. I've been in the industry since about 2020. I started off.
Okay.
So I started off at EV Box, who is actually, I'm from the Chicago suburbs. Their manufacturing headquarters is right up the road in Libertyville, Illinois, or was. So I started with them, and then I ended up following my boss from EV Box. We went to Francis together. And so we were at Francis Energy. And then from there, I got in touch with Angelo, who was the next director of sales at EV Box. And he was like, hey, there's this up-and-coming company that's starting up. I think you'd be a great fit. So, he pulled me over from them to go help them kind of launch in the U.S.
Yeah, before we get into the Carrollton station that opened in the U.S., one of my viewers did a little bit of research, and apparently it's a fairly large organization that's got a sizable installation base, and they're just not in North America until now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's very accurate. So we kind of entered the U.S. market probably the late 2024. I came on board this year. So we're really just ramping up. We've basically gotten all of our certifications. All of that obviously is done since we have the site live. But yeah, so we basically just entered the market, but we're part of a larger organization called Wanick P&E. They're a global conglomerate, and they do a lot of semiconductor work and equipment like that. So they do high precision power systems, and that's kind of the foundation of where our charging technology comes from. So globally, we've done about 15,000 DC fast chargers across Korea and Japan.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. And so we've done very well in that region. And so they were like, the next step for them was entering that US market. In compared to some of our competitors, our reliability is second to none, and we're really excited about that. So that's kind of how we entered the US market. And so home base right now for us is Dallas, Texas. But the Wanick group is in Seoul, Korea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems as though there's a lot of companies that make similar type of equipment to DC fast charger that are branching into the industry for charging as well. Lincoln Electric here in the States, and obviously Delta in Taiwan, and Kempower in Nordic region. So it seems like a natural organic extension for product portfolios for companies that are in similar types of heavy electronic industry in order to start expanding into DC fast chargers. And it seems to be the market is insatiable. So I'm sure that there's going to be plenty for you all to keep us busy with. But specifically about the Carrollton station, did I say that right? Carrollton?
Yeah, Carrollton, Texas. Yep.
Carrollton, Texas. Yeah. So it's got a lot of buzz around it. And I've seen it on social media. And obviously, I did some reporting and a lot of people latched onto it. Can you tell us about how that came into fruition? I understand it's also partnered through REDI, if I understand correctly.
Yep. So it is our flagship site. So it's our first site that went live. It literally went live in October. So just the last few weeks, we got it up and running. So what's really cool about it, it's in a very like high traffic area near the North Crest Village Retail Center. So a lot of heavy traffic there. We're actually seeing a lot of people coming to and from the airport looking to get in there. So it's actually been doing very well. So that station right there, our site, it's basically we're using our Tron technology, which is our 600 kilowatt unit, which is a power cabinet with satellite dispensers. But this site actually has 2 power cabinets. So you're looking at upwards of 1.2 megawatts of power with 8 dispensers. So 5 of them being CCS and 3 of them being NACS. So we launched that. So we have a pretty big hub right there is our flagship. And
it's a showcase.
Yeah, it's our showcase, and it's about 15 to 20 minutes from our headquarters as well. So that's why we liked it there. In terms of, partnering with REDI, obviously when we got into the U.S. market, a lot of our initial conversations were getting to know all of the providers, right? We wanted to know all the charge management softwares, the CPOs, see where they're going and find the right fit for us. So REDI is somebody I've known for a while.
Very impressive work they've been doing recently. I'm truly amazed.
Like I just saw, I think yesterday or this week on LinkedIn, and they cracked the top 5 of new ports, I think, in the last month.
Yeah, they went from 0 to 100 in a short amount of time.
So they've taken a really cool approach to things. I think they were the first people who thought it was cool to go to like the convenience store summits and go to the oil and gas conventions. So they kind of like blazed a road in that world where everyone else was kind of focused in other things. So I've known them for about 5 years, and I've always just really liked working with their team. I've loved their app and what they do. So we obviously were talking to a bunch of different partners that we're still engaged with, but for our first flagship site, we wanted to pick REDI to kind of help represent us. And you might have noticed as well, as REDI recently was recognized by JD Power as the top-ranked CCS charging network.
No, I didn't notice. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so they were recently, recognized by that. So in terms of EV experience, so that goes a long way. Also, is why we chose them. We want something where obviously our hardware is extremely reliable, but we also want to have a team behind us that's operational and doing that kind of work to make sure the units are up. And they've been amazing since the start.
Yeah, for that whole independent C-store addressable market, of which I would have to imagine is just ginormous in the United States, they definitely seemed to have a sales play that is resonating, because I've seen in those independent C-stores, that's where, because they don't want to invent a product to put on their property. What they want is the customers to come in and buy their, things from the convenience store, and having a turnkey approach with REDI or other types of partners, but definitely REDI has definitely found success in that space. But you mentioned the Tron line. Are there other products that viveEV has in their portfolio? And it looks like the one that is in Carrollton, as it's the pictures I've seen, it looks to be very flexible. You mentioned a 600 kilowatt unit, and they're paired to 2, so that'd be 1.2 megawatts with 600 kilowatt capable dispensers. That's a pretty hefty approach. And I'm assuming, depending on the use case, if it's like a fleet operator, they don't need all that high power juice because they've got longer dwell times, behind the fence sort of use cases. But it still might make sense to have all those dispensers tied to a single unit with a smaller transformer sort of thing. So there's fleet operator use cases, there's CPO use cases, and I imagine the list goes on and on and on. So are there other products besides the Tron, or is that right now what is the principal product in the portfolio?
So we do have 2 units right now. We do have a standalone. We call it the Pumpy.
Okay.
It's a 180 kW unit that is basically a standalone unit, all-in-one modular design. Just like you see, we can support both NACS and CCS1. So we're using that a lot depending on the situation, the use case, depending on if we're seeing a lot of traction with it, with people looking to replace, generation 1 units and not necessarily have to upgrade the site. So that one is still something we have. The other one, though, it's the Tron is really our flagship power system. So what's cool about that one, it incorporates advanced thermal control and smart monitoring. It can be power balance across the line. So it can deliver up to 600 kilowatts in theory for only a short amount of time, obviously because of the cable and what it can handle.
Yep.
But usually it'll max out around 400 kilowatts if one car pulled up. But obviously if 4 cars pull up, it will then power share across accordingly.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry because I can't think of many cars besides the Tesla Semi that could suck that much juice off you guys. So,
yeah, there's
right
not
now
as
we're kind of future-proof.
Right, but I think you're starting to see it happening. I think you're seeing cars that are taking a little bit more. I think the Porsche Taycan is one of those that can take a little bit of juice. I think the Silverado even can take some pretty good power.
Yeah, it can't. I don't think it can breach 400 though. So.
No, I don't think it breaches that either. So, but that is our flagship one. It's basically a power cabinet with 4 dispensers, and so obviously the cables can be changed out depending on what you want. But that is the flagship unit for us in the U.S. But we see a lot of traction, as I said, with the Pumpy, depending on the use case, right? So if you're looking at fleets and stuff like that behind the fence, I think you're seeing a lot of mixed use for that. Like most fleets need a reliable 48 amp or 80 amp unit behind the fence, overnight charging. But they also should have probably 1 or 2 DC fast chargers on site just in case they have to turn something around quickly, get a vehicle back out. So the design of that is kind of what you'd want to see. We do have level 2 chargers in Korea and Japan as well. So we are exploring it in the US as an opportunity. But right now our focus is really on level 3 DC fast charging.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Asian markets and coming to the United States. And so what caught my interest is that you guys are showing up here now. And is there thought that the North American market might be a good place to invest? Because like I'm seeing just a crazy amount of activity starting to spike here in North America. So I'm guessing there was a good rationale for this is the time to start expanding into North America.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you looked at it, I think when the last administration came in and you saw what Europe was doing and even what the Asian markets were doing, I think we thought we were going to see this major uptick early in the 2020, 2021 of it. And it didn't, have that, parabola, like hyperbolic, like curve we wanted to see. So you did see a lot of people enter the market then, and you've seen a lot of attrition, right? You've seen a lot of people kind of playing and figuring out and trying to tread water. So for us, this felt like a really good moment to get in here because it's not going away. It's getting better. It's just not going as fast as we thought it was going to happen in 2020. I think COVID and a bunch of other stuff, kind of derailed some of that momentum as well during that time because you weren't seeing as many projects in general getting built. But if you look at it, like I think there was U.S. sales were roughly 130,000 units in July of this year. That was a 20% increase year over year. My home state in Illinois, I think we outpaced every other state and like by 4 to 1 in terms of EV sales in Illinois. So it's coming. I think we're starting to see the automakers as well starting to ramp up and really look into building more economical vehicles as well. There's, I think price points were an issue at some point with, buying an EV. There wasn't really that economical vehicle that you could get. You're seeing companies like Slate enter the market who want to build something that's cost effective. So I think right now it is a really good time to still be in it because it's not going away. It's just going to be slower in terms of that adoption.
It used to be that you'd recoup your investment from total cost of ownership savings, but now it's just we're approaching price parity where it's just kind of a slam dunk. And I think it's just inevitable the adoption will start to occur. My personal opinion is just a better mode of personal transportation, especially if you have the way to refuel in your garage and all that. But so on the Tron, the payment options, do you all use like QR codes or because in North America, the payment terminals can be a bit of a Achilles heel. So
yeah. So I mean, I think that's fair because it's a new experience for people, right? Like we haven't seen a seismic change in how we move around since we went from cart and buggy to a gas powered vehicle, right? This is the next big leap where people are going, all right, I'm going to get rid of my gas car. and I'm going to move to EV. So there is a little bit of a learning curve, obviously, with that. We want it, and I think that's why one of the reasons we also chose Red E is it should be a seamless experience. It should be about the driver experience. So we do obviously offer credit card reader right at the bat. You can just do that. You can use Red E's app as well. And so you can also then, of course, use a QR code that's on the screen. So you have 3 different options of doing it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's about how do we make it as easy as possible for that new EV driver. It's not about
we keep having a
bunch of them.
They keep having the promise of ubiquitous plug and charge being available, and I think once that happens, and I think it will happen, it might take 2-3 years to actually sort out the devil in the details there. But I think once that happens, charging an electric vehicle is going to be easier, and with speeds that you guys are putting out faster. I don't want to say faster than filling a gas car, but faster than it currently is. And basically all the arguments just start to melt away, and it just forges the path forward.
Yeah. And it's you nailed it. But at the end of the day, like most of the charging you're going to see for DC fast, obviously it might be urban centers and stuff like that, but it's mainly going to be across corridors, highways when you're traveling distances. So if I'm doing a road trip still and I'm going from Chicago and I want to go to Denver, right? Like I'm going to make stops. And usually during those stops, if you're road tripping, you're going to get out of the car and walk around for 5-10 minutes. You're going to get a snack, maybe lunch. So the idea of, well, I just need to pump up and go. Like, I think that's like, yeah, sometimes you want to be able to do that. But at the end of the day, with the technology that we're getting at, like you're going to see shorter and shorter dwell times in general.
Yeah, it's very common at a gas station where people abandon their cars and go inside and, do what they do and grab a burger or whatever, and then they come back to their car under the canopy and off they go. So really, if you look at the dwell time, it's probably pretty similar to the amount of speed we're currently getting in DC fast chargers.
No, for sure. So as I said, I think we're very excited about entering the market right now again, right? Like it's a really good time, I think. And I think we're just going to continue to see it grow. And my boss, Jason, who's the CEO of the company, really smart guy. He's an aerospace engineer by trade, but he has the roadmap and what he envisions and how we want to do it. And it's fun to work for a company that wants to see these changes happen. And like for any of us, I think in this market, you want to be a part of something it's revolutionary in a way, right? We are changing how things happen. I can't wait for the day when we're driving around and you can just see the stations that are popping up everywhere and be like, oh, we were part of that. And so I think that's really exciting.
Well, Mr. Linton, much appreciated for coming on to AutoSpec Bits and wishing you much success in the future. I think it's very bright, and the product mix that you have with the Tron product line, I'm sure is going to be well received in the American market. And congratulations on christening your flagship station.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's such an exciting time in the industry. So much activity is taking place, and great to see viveEV enter the market too. Much to look forward to with them. And just to touch on the 600 kilowatt charging that's starting to make its way into the market, we've seen viveEV here mention 600 kilowatt, Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging mentioned 600 kilowatt, and ChargePoint also announced 600 kilowatt charging that's coming in 2026. And there is not that many cars that can charge that fast. So there's been some commentary on some of the videos that I posted where I mentioned 600 kilowatt, being like, well, yeah, there's not really that many cars that can charge that fast. And I just watched this morning a video from YouTuber Chris Rifa in Europe. He's a good YouTuber. He does car reviews in Europe. There's a car called the Atlantic. That's ELANTIX, Atlantics ET. And it has a 5C CATL 77 kilowatt hour LFP pack. 5C. Just ripped in his charging test. So if you want to see what the future holds, go check out Chris's video, because man, that car is primed and ready. And it was, I think he said it was less than 50,000 euros. So it's not like a super expensive car. It's made for the masses. It was a very nice, luxurious car. And he said it costs less than the Tesla Model Y, I believe, and charges at 5C. Crazy. 2 weeks ago, I reported about Electrify America winning an award for the battery energy stationary storage integrations that they do. The same recognition occurred this week, but this time from Reuters under their automotive DRIVE program. Electrify America is one of 3 innovative winners. And I didn't know this, but Electrify America actually is using stationary storage at like 150 different charging stations. I thought it was just at the Baker where they were piloting the use of it, but no, they actually have multiple stations around the United States that are using battery storage to offset peak demand and being able to tie into lower power grid connections and still supply fast charging speed and things like that. So they're starting to rack up the awards. Their glass display case in their lobby is probably starting to get pretty crowded. So congratulations to Electrify America once again taking home the win. This one is a little quirky. Copper top battery maker Duracell has been finding success in the United Kingdom with EV home charging and home battery storage, the ones that are actually in the house. And Octopus Energy in the UK has been very successful also with virtual power plants and things, offering a path to decreased home energy costs. And in-home battery storage is taken off as a result in order to offset, because electricity is very expensive in the UK. This week, they decided to build on their growing success, and they announced a DC fast charging network with 6 sites opening in the 4th quarter 2025. They say they'll have 100 sites by 2030. The renderings have the iconic Alpitronic HYC 400s with Duracell wraps. They look like Duracell batteries. Very quirky. Attached lounges and distinctive canopies. So they're taking a page off the IONNA playbook. Right now, it's just a UK phenomenon, but we'll keep a weathered eye out for copper top charging stations here in the US too. That would be tons of fun. Have a battery wrapped charger fill my battery powered car. Tons of fun. Lastly, Moto Psycho 909 left a comment in last week's episode about a sleeper IONNA site in Greer, South Carolina. Scott Owens, who has been on this channel before and was also mentioned in last week's episode with pictures from the IONNA charging station outside of the Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport, was able to locate that station and sent me these photos that I'll show without the transition audio. Some people chimed into comments saying, hey, that transition audio was a bit annoying, so I'll take it out and it'll just be a silent run of photos. Let's take a look at those. Thanks for watching.